All right, welcome, guys. What is up? This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to take their brands to the next level. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today we're about to get into a very, very interesting topic as usual. Guys, listen, ladies, if you're listening to this live, put it in the chat. Where are you listening in from? And I want to send a wonderful winning Wednesday to Dr. Michelle D. Clark, all the way from Detroit. And then I see Tia Rogers. She says, great day, everyone from New Jersey. Great day to you as well, Tia. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So, Bobby, what's up, man? How's everything going? How's the morning been so far?
Whew. This morning, Junior, was a struggle. It was a struggle. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This morning, I got up earlier than I've gotten up in a long time, and I hit it. I just hit the ground running, and I hit it so hard, so furious, and I was in so deep that after like an hour and a half, less than 2 hours, I was zapped. I was like, yo, where's my energy right now? And it was a combination of getting up and hitting it and not having done it in a while. So I got an opportunity to see some gaps. I got an opportunity to see some intensity, and I got an opportunity to just look at myself from the outside. And that's necessary sometimes. You got to push yourself. You got to hit it and see where the gaps are, where those limitations really are. And that's what I got a chance to do this morning. So got up, hit it hard, did all the different things that I do in my morning routine. And then as I was getting ready to transition to do the next thing that I woke up so early to do, I was just like, whoa, all right, let's go. And it didn't really happen the way I wanted it to. But we're definitely here, and I took notes of myself. And that's what I recommend everybody else do. So I'm having a phenomenal day. Like I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm striving. And any day that you're doing that in my book is a day that you're winning. How about you? How you doing, Julie?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I woke up a little bit later today as well. But the reason I did was because I stayed up looking at something on Netflix actually. So I love looking at series that have a lot to do with excellence and different movies. I study movies. Like, movies have so many lessons in them. And I just something just came across my Netflix. It was something to do with Count Dracula. I think everybody knows about Count Dracula. So I'm like, all right, let's see what this is. So I clicked it. I started watching, and put it in the chat. How many of you have ever like listened to a movie where the bad guy is saying something that actually makes sense? I'm like, this is making a little bit of sense. Oftentimes, Bobby, the bad guy, quote unquote, the bad guy in the movie, he's saying a lot of stuff that when you listen to it, it's like this is like words of wisdom, right? So in the movie, I don't know if you've seen it, Bobby, but so this guy called Vlad, his name is Vlad the Impaler. That's what they used to call him. He's like this prince, and then he goes to this cave where he eventually meets, I guess, the guy that is Dracula, right? And then somewhere in that movie, he says something that's really stood out to me. He says what he says. So he says that sometimes when we're in trouble, and I'm just paraphrasing it, people will often look for a hero when we're in trouble. And then he says, sometimes you don't need a hero. Sometimes you need a monster. And when he said that, the way I took it, I knew like we were obviously thinking different things, but the way I understood it was that sometimes, like when you're in business and maybe your back is against the wall, you're not making sales, you're not doing whatever you need to do. The way I understood it, the way I interpreted that was that you just need to go beast mode. You just need to go beast. Like you need to release your brakes. Like find out whatever's holding you back, whatever's restricting you, and you need to transform, right? And you need to make friends with the darkness, so to speak, and become like that beast that beast of sales that could really drive your company forward. And I said, these people are so interesting, right? And one of my favorite quotes came from Thanos. Actually, how many of you know Thanos? Put it in the chat. So in the Endgames movie, Thanos said, "As long as there are those who remember what was, there will always be those who cannot accept what could be." Can you believe that? That's coming from a bad guy. And let me tell you something. As long as you hold on to your past mistakes, okay, as long as you remember your previous identity, as long as you hold on to the old version of Dr. Michelle D. Clark, the old version of Bradley, the old version of Tia, the old version of Bobby, as long as you're stuck in your own drama and trauma, you could never accept. Like there will be a part of you that cannot accept what could be, that cannot accept your potential. So that's what I spend my night doing, man. And because of that, I purposefully woke up a little bit late because I understand the importance of rest, but I was able to get a workout in still.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Like when we come back, we're going to be diving into some things that's actually going to connect all of this together in a way that I didn't foresee. You know, when I gave Junior some ideas about what we should talk about this morning, you know, we were just kind of going through our morning routine where we just chat a bit, and then we were like, hey, we're going to talk about this. And this organically is just a perfect segue. So when we come back from the break, we're going to reveal what that topic is, so don't miss it. And we'll be back in what, say 30 seconds, maybe a minute.
Yeah, we'll be back in 1 minute.
So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
All right, guys, so we're back. Bobby, let's dive right in.
So today, guys, we're going to be talking about standards, increasing your standards, raising your standards, and what standards really are. So in the Marine Corps, we've got standards. We've got physical fitness standards. We've got rifle marksmanship standards. We've got health standards, all these different standards. And I spent some time thinking about standards because I realized that not everybody goes to the military. That's just the reality. Not a lot of people go to places where the standards are set and have been set for over 200 years and been gradually increased, right? So most people they get introduced to standards in school. They get introduced to the grading scale. Like this is the standard for getting X grade, and that's where their standards stop. And then they go off into the workforce, and then obviously they get performance evaluations, but they don't get standards that go deeper than performance. Our standards in the military go deeper than just the grade. It goes deeper than the performance. It goes down to the psyche. It goes down to the character. It goes down to who the individual is and how they show up. So we're going to talk about setting standards today, setting them high, how to increase them, what they are actually designed to do. So as we get into this, one thing that I want to share with you guys is something that I was reading in a book. And this book is called The 50 Universal Laws, the 50 Primary Universal Laws. Interesting book. Now, what's interesting about this book is it takes laws of physics, laws of metaphysics, and just different laws that you could see in science. And then they show how life creates some of these laws itself, like in human life. So, for example, a someone that is observing a tree and they see that this tree is growing. And then once this tree gets to a certain height and it stops growing, the tree starts to decay. So there's a law for that. They say that is the law of destruction, so to speak. It's like whenever something reaches its full potential, it starts to like it can't go any higher. You see that in human beings. Like once we get to say 45 or 30, like once we've matured fully, we don't keep getting better and better and better. We get older, but the body starts to decay. It reaches its peak. The same thing with trees. Once trees get to their fullest height and they've pulled all the nutrients, they start to decay. It's the same thing, and it's a universal law. It's like anytime something achieves completeness, it starts to regress. Rome, same thing. Once Rome became Rome, then Rome was destroyed. And that is a law. So one of the laws around standards is standards prevent destruction. So as long as you increase your standards, you can prevent complete arrival, so to speak. We also see this in diminishing returns. All of these are just circles. It's a universal law that you find in so many places. So diminishing returns says after you reach this certain height of money in, if you don't increase the standard, if you don't increase the scope of resources that you have available, you're going to start to diminish. So raising your standards actually prevents destruction. So the question is, have you reached your current peak? Have you reached a space in your life where you've made all the money that you've ever made in your life? If you have and you're making less money, or you're making the same amount of money, or the money is fluctuating but not increasing, I would venture to say that that has to do with the standards that you're accepting. Have you raised the standards of what you demand in the form of income, in the form of freedom, in the form of liberty, freedom of speech and opinion? So that's what we're going to be diving into. That's kind of the preface it, Junior. I'm turning it over to you to see what you think about just the idea of increasing standards in order to prevent complacency, because complacency does lead to regressive behavior.
So last night, last night, literally just last night, Bobby, I did what's called a BHAG. Anybody knows what a BHAG is? Put it in the chat. How many of you know what a BHAG is? So a BHAG is an acronym for a big, hairy, audacious goal. So a big, hairy, audacious goal. That's a BHAG. If you don't have a BHAG, like a big, hairy, audacious goal is something that if you go to your family with and you tell them, you might scare them. If you go to, if you tell your family this, Bobby, they might look at you like, I think you might need to check Bobby in, check the house, right? So you need to have a BHAG, and it amazes me that every time we really assess the way that we think, we realize that we're just not thinking big enough, myself included. Like we're just not thinking big enough. There's a great book that says if you're gonna be thinking anyways, you might as well think big. You might as well think big. So when it comes to setting the new standard, I mean, Bobby, I 100% agree with that. I think the key to that, though, is this next piece. It's something called an identity audit. So, identity audit. And when you do your identity audit, there are a couple questions that you can ask yourself. So, number one, are your results increasing? And this is the assessment of your drive and determination. Are your results increasing? And write this down if you're writing. So literally, like, are you making more money or are you making less money? Right? Is the quality of your relationship increasing or decreasing? Okay, are you setting new standards like Bobby said, or are you sort of cool with the standards that you have? You go through the identity process, the identity audit process, and then you start to understand really and truly what's lacking. And there's a good quote, Bobby. I don't know if anybody said this, but I was working out the other day and I sort of came up with this. And then I said, well, I wrote down actually, you're not tired, you're just not inspired. So some of you think you're tired. Some of you think I don't know, you're burned out. What they say, like they burn out, like they're a candle, right? They burn out. Maybe you're not burned out. Maybe you're just not inspired. Maybe you just lost that drive. So like, what drives you? And we can get into that. There are so many ways and so many angles that you could think of when it comes to drive. So are you driven by fame? Are you driven by competition? Are you driven by the need to prove somebody wrong?
Yeah.
Are you driven by money? Are you driven by purpose? Are you driven by God? Are you driven by freedom? Are you driven by legacy? Are you driven by mastery? Like you want to be the best at something, the best to ever do it? Are you driven by greatness? So some people are driven by greatness, like the great people that we know, they compete just to compete. Are you driven by competition? Like what drives you? And the way you know if you've lost that drive, if you've lost that inspiration is very simple. Are your results decreasing or increasing? If your results are decreasing, then you most likely lost that drive because people don't do things for one of three reasons, Bobby. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to do it, or they're not motivated to do it. So I think setting a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, is a really good way to sort of break out of that mindset. Okay, break out of that mindset and see something new. So I set a big, hairy, audacious goal last night. Okay. And immediately when I set that goal, you know what that did for me? That immediately moved me to a different place in my mind. And I started to look up. Okay. I started to look up who is currently occupying the position at my big, hairy, audacious goal. And lo and behold, Bobby, it was actually somebody in my country. I said, look at that. I said, look at that. And I'll share what the goal is. The goal, so a big, hairy, audacious goal. One of them that I wrote down was building the biggest and the best marketing agency in the Caribbean. Like for me, that's a big, hairy, audacious goal. So when I looked it up, I went onto Google, I looked up biggest marketing agencies in the Caribbean, and it was based in St. Lucia. I'm like, wow, this is this is amazing. So the person that is currently occupying that spot, like I'm coming for that spot. Friendly competition, of course, but what is your big, hairy, audacious goal? Like, do you want to be one of the best speakers in the world? Do you want to be the absolute best in your space? And if not, then why not? You know, what is something that you could set, that you could write down, that would absolutely scare you? Maybe it's becoming the first billionaire in your family. Maybe it's becoming maybe worth $100 million.
This is great, Junior.
So, like when you set those big, hairy, audacious goals, you have to move your standards because there's no way to achieve it with your current standards. So that's what I do, Bobby. I go on identity audits. I set, I guess, bigger goals, and then the bigger goals force me to move my standards.
You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help the people real quick. I'm going to help the people and I'm going to give you a belief audit or a self audit template because I literally just did one this weekend. So I'm just going to give you guys exactly what I did. So the first thing I did is I created a T chart, before and after. So before is my current or my past, and the after is my new. So on the T chart to the left, you may have the before, to the right, you'll have the new. I put my top three priorities. What were my top three priorities or values? By priorities, I mean values, my top three values that were guiding my decision making. For me, I'll share it. It was faith, family, and purpose. Those have changed slightly. For me now, it is truth, leadership, and contribution. Truth replaced faith because for me, my faith has evolved. I believe that truth and faith are one and the same to a degree, but that's me. So just figure it out. Leadership, I have to lead myself. I have to lead my family. I have to lead everyone else. So family, if I can't lead the family, there's nothing else I can do for the family, in my opinion. The family, my responsibility as a man starts with the ability to lead effectively. And then contribution. What am I able to give back to society? So that's how I started it, is reevaluating my top 3 values. The next thing that I did was I asked myself the most pressing questions that I felt like I needed to know the answer to in order to make the shift. So the top questions that I asked myself, and you may ask yourself the same questions, you may ask yourself something different. So I asked myself, 1, what is the meaning of life? So questions you can ask yourself throughout your life, because the meaning may change, or at least you may get a better understanding. And so this was a time in my life where I asked myself this question again: what's the meaning of life? Then I answered it. Look, what is the role of happiness in life? I went ahead and answered that. What is the purpose of pain in life? What is the role of family in life? How important is money? What is the art of communicating love? Or how do you communicate love? Or what is the best way to communicate love? Those all are the same question. Life is a series of letting go. That was more of a statement. How does a man live well? So what does good living look like? And then the last question I asked myself was, how does a man master the mind, his mind? And I answered those questions. So in answering those questions, I was able to figure out what I have learned from the last version of me and the last set of standards and the last set of values. So now with my new values and my newfound wisdom, it's a matter of setting new standards and then executing at these standards in accordance with these priorities, these values, and this new knowledge, and to see where I go now. And that's just a simple way to do a self-audit. Figure out who you were and who you are now, and then ask some tough questions and see if you've learned anything. And then whatever you've learned, you take that wisdom and start diving in. So when we come back from the break, I'll dive into the next segment of what I have on standards and then pass it back to Junior to see what he's thinking as well.
I said Shaan Ride East. I'm proud. I said Shaan Ride East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. but they're looking for the 3 I's: the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys, welcome back. So, Bobby, we've spoken about a lot so far. This is really coming along, man. This is really coming along. We've spoken about bad guys in movies, little pockets of wisdom, identity audits. Guys, put it in the chat. What has been your main takeaway so far? Like, what have you learned so far? What is something that you can take away today and act upon to move the needle forward for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good questions. So to pick back up with the standards piece, standards are self-induced challenges. Believe it or not, that's what they are. So when you set a standard, what you're doing is you're creating a challenge for yourself that is internal instead of external. So an obstacle might be something external or something that is challenging you. But a internal challenge, a self-induced challenge, is one that helps you to overcome yourself and outward situations. I'm going to give you guys an example. So I was sharing with my son about pressure. I said, hey, son, let me know when your next game is so the whole family can come and we can support you. So both of my sons play basketball. And my son said to me, Dad, you don't have to come. I said, why not? He was like, because if I play well and you're there, I'd love for you to see me get all these points. But if I don't play well and you're there, the pressure of you seeing me not do good will make me feel, under pressure. So I was like, son, pressure is a privilege. Pressure means people believe in you enough to let you perform. So that was the first thing I said to him. The second thing was I took one of his favorite players. So he likes Steph Curry. So Stephen Curry is known for his three-point shooting. He is, I believe, been dubbed the best shooter the NBA has ever seen. And he shoots the three-point shot with excellent efficiency. Now, there was a game that Stephen Curry was playing in, and his team was down by like 21 points. And right before this game, he was in the gym with his team practicing three-point shots. He shot over 100 three-pointers in a row. He didn't miss one. Same spot.
100.
Over 100 in a row. He didn't miss one. This guy he's a machine. He's a machine. So then the very next game, they're not at home. They're in the other team's place. And I'm explaining this to my son as I'm driving him home from practice. And he's like, and while Stephen Curry was at the opponent's court, they were down by 21. They gave him the rock. He just did like this. That means hand me the ball. Grab it. They showed it on Sports Center. This dude was such a machine that when they caught it on Sports Center, him shooting the game-winning three, there was like 3 people on him defending him, and his eyes were closed. He wasn't even looking at the basket. It was so automatic. His body, his mind, his everything knew. And he was gone. And that was a level of internal standards that alleviated all external pressure. So his standard in practice is 100 threes in a row or I don't leave. Maybe it's not or I don't leave. That's a lot of threes. But at that day in practice, he said, I'm going for the gusto. He probably does have a standard, though, that's closer to like 100 made buckets or I don't leave after practice. And this could be anywhere on the court. That day, it was 100 from one spot, 3-point range, period. And because that was his standard, when he needed to hit those 7 for the game winner on the other opponent's turf, it was what we call cash, swish, buckets, game over. So I say all of that to say your standard should be self-induced challenges designed to alleviate outward pressure when you set them high enough.
Bobby, it's just like what we always say. Like when your back is against the wall, you fall to your lowest level of skill. Like when your back is against the wall, you fall to your lowest level of skill. So now honestly, I don't even watch basketball. That's not my thing. I've never been a basketball lover. But I can definitely respect that. Like shooting 100 like free throws in a row in a game. That's not like in practice. That's like an actual. You're talking about an actual game that was like a live game, right?
When he
Like they
shot
were.
100, he was in practice. When he hit the 7, he was in a game.
So he did 100 in practice, and then he hit 7 in a row in a game.
Right, that mattered. All of them mattered with maximum defense. Very tough.
So that's unbelievable because it's not like you're going against like a stationary target. Like if you've ever been on a range, if you've ever been like on a shooting range, it's different to hit a stationary target than a moving target. That's like two different games. That's two different games. So if you're playing in an actual live game and you could hit 7 in a row in that time, like under that pressure, that's something different. And I don't even play basketball, but I know that that is just different. So you fall to your lowest level of skill. One thing that I realize is that the people that are elite at what they do, they just go deeper. Like I saw now football is something I watch, by the way. So I'm not talking about American football. I'm talking about football, like what you guys call soccer. That's something I watch, and well, I don't watch it anymore. I don't have time. But back in the day, that was like my sport. I used to play that, and then I also used to watch that. So and we don't call it soccer, just so you know. If you come to the Caribbean and you try talking about soccer, they immediately know, okay, you're from America. Everybody else around the world calls it football. In the Eastern world, they call it football, but that's, anyways. What I was telling you is that I saw a workout regimen from one of the best football players in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo. And let me tell you something. Cristiano measures everything. Bro, the man, he measures how many seconds that he spends on the bike. The bike that you do, he measures down to the second how much time he spends on that thing. He measures what he eats. He measures the amount of time he sleeps. He measures everything. He measures like he has like 100 different metrics. I kid you not, Bobby. Every single day when he's training, that he's measuring. He's measuring his heart rate, his speed, his velocity, like all kinds of stuff. And I said, that's absolutely crazy. In a single workout, the guy must be measuring like 50 different things in one workout. And he did something that was so crazy, which is he scored more goals. I think last year he scored more goals last year. And I think he's like 40, he's like over 40 now, which is considered old in sport. He scored more goals last year than he did when he was like 25 or something like that, like when he was young. In other words, he's gotten better over time, whereas athletes are supposed to decline over time. They normally decline.
Mm-hmm.
So how is this guy apparently getting better over time when he's already way past, like you're talking about that peak? Like footballers peak at like 35. Like if you look at people like Kylian Mbappe, like they peak at like 29. But there are some people like Cristiano, Messi, for whatever reason, they don't respect that. They don't respect the law of decline. Like you say,
Yeah.
they just don't care about that. They they're defying gravity and they're getting better every single year, despite whatever the critics say, despite what nature says, the guy is getting better. And it's in numbers. It's not like what I think. I'm not even a Cristiano fan. I'm not a fan of his, but I respect his work ethic. And when I saw him measuring all of those things, I said, that's crazy. Like imagine competing with somebody who measures like to that extent, that's like crazy.
That's right. That's
He
right.
measures the height he raises his leg. I kid you not, he measures everything, bro. Every single thing. So these people, like when you talk about standards, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I saw a workout routine from Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee does what you do in a week. Bruce Lee does that in one training session. What the average person does in a week, Bruce Lee will do that in one session. I kid you not. He he warms up with like 100 of this and 50 of that and 8 sets of 10 of this. That's his warm up.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to the real workout, which is absolutely crazy. He has like an entire, like he's doing like 20 different things in a session. Kid you not.
Yeah. It's wow, man. And you know, one thing that I've learned is that the things that people think you enjoy are normally the things that you actually hate, but you do them because they make you great. For example, I remember my wife saying something to me that almost made me like jump out of my skin. She said, "You love being in that garage and just working." When I used to live in the old home, like we had a little garage downstairs. She's like, "You just love being down there, working all those hours and spending all that time with those clients and just learning. You're so happy that you don't want to spend any time with us." So that was what she used to think, you know. And I said to myself, seriously? Like, you think I'm having fun down here? You think this is enjoyable? When it's really like I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm trying to learn how to do things I've never done before. Clients aren't happy. Some people are paying on time, some people aren't. And you're talking to me about this and that, and the kids need this and that. And it's like when we look at these athletes and we look at the things that they do, most people think that they enjoy it. But I would almost venture to say Bruce Lee probably doesn't love it. Like, he's probably not doing rep 1,000 with a smile. He's doing rep 1,000 knowing that if I don't do it, who else will? If I don't push the limit, what am I going to leave inside the tank? Like, if I don't go this hard, what happens? When I'm in the garage, I am thinking, if I don't keep working on this product or this program or this for this client, what will they be if I drop the ball? Like, I'm not happy about it, so to speak. I have a duty. I have a responsibility. I'm pretty sure Cristiano is probably not 40 years old, 40 plus, and happy about measuring the height of his leg. Like, that's probably not the height of his day. But I do believe he has convinced himself that it is absolutely necessary and that it's one of the best things that he can do for himself, his family, and for his team. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because what it takes to be great oftentimes isn't a good, happy, jolly experience. Normally it's a experience that becomes addictive, and it becomes good, but it doesn't start that way. Like, it starts like, I don't want to do this, or I'm in the middle of this and it sucks, and you just learn to embrace it, and you learn to find little ways to look at it to keep yourself going. And in most cases, anytime, in my experience, you do something hard that you said you were going to finish and you finish it, you add to your honor. And I think anytime you add to your honor, you add to your confidence. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because there might be some things out there that you could be doing that you're not doing because you feel like, well, when everybody else does it, they look so happy. Or when everybody else does it, it's genetic. Or when everybody else does it, it's just easier for them. No, it probably sucks for them too. And they don't like to do it either. They just get it done.
Yes, sir. Guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more on the topic. Stay tuned.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're gonna add a zero to the world, but you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow. In brand clarity, exactly what you're gonna get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're gonna learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is gonna have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand.
All right, guys. So while we were sort of coming up to the top of the hour, and let's sort of bring this all together. Let's sort of bring this all together. Like while you were speaking, I wrote down something. I wrote down set new standards, and I'm thinking to myself like, what does that actually mean? What does it mean? It sounds like a nice buzzword. I'm not really into like buzzwords and stuff like that. Like, what does that actually mean? And then I said to myself, like, what are some areas in my life where I could actually set new standards? Okay, so number one is training. So, like, what is your standard for training? How many times per day do you train? And I don't mean just in the gym, I mean in business. If you're in business, which most of us are, you should be learning or trying to acquire new skills every single day. And the way that you do that is through training. Like, so if you're in branded like a leader, how many times per day are you actually training? Are you training once a day? Are you training once a week? What is a standard that you should have? And the way that I'm thinking about it now after this conversation is, what would be an unreasonable standard for action that I can take that would make it impossible for me not to get my goal? Like what would be like unreasonable? In other words, Bobby, if I took this level of action, just by the law of physics, I have to get my goal. It would make it unreasonable for me not to get the goal just through pure action. Because when you think about the greats, Kobe Bryant, Stephen Curry, like you were saying, if you shoot 300 every single day, it's almost impossible, right, for you to step into a game and not be one of the best free throws in the entire history of the NBA. Like that doesn't make sense because nobody else is doing that. That's like a 0.01% activity. So what is your 0.01% activity? What does that look like for you? If you're a speaker, maybe you're practicing speaking. How many times per day are you practicing speaking? What would be an unreasonable number of times per day for you to practice speaking that would make it impossible for you not to become the best speaker alive or the best speaker that you know? If you practice like 3 to 5 times per day, there's hardly anybody doing that. Right? There's hardly anybody doing that. So it would be unreasonable for us to think that you would not become the best by doing that unreasonable amount of action.
Mm, this is a great way to think about that. When I think about standards and setting new standards, I think about why. Like, why is this standard important? So, for me, if I don't have a reason or I don't do it, I'll just be honest. Like, if I can't find a reason for it, it won't last. So, but I'm not saying everybody's like that. That's just me. So, I have to have a reason for doing what I'm doing. So, the way I like to set standards is I like to think about what reason is good enough for me to set it. So a health standard might be for longevity. So I can be around for my kids, for my wife, and for my family. So now I got a reason to be healthy. So then the standard becomes, what result do I want to get? Such as for me, my wealth health goal right now is to be 160 solid, straight muscle, right? Maybe 10% body fat or less. So that's my goal right now. Right now, I'm like 155 at 13% body fat. So I still got some body fat to lose and like 5 pounds of muscle to put on. And with a goal like that, there's a lot of things that I'm tracking. I'm tracking calories in. I'm tracking percentage of protein, percentage of calories that come from protein. So I've got like 70% that comes from protein, then I've got 20-30% that comes from starches and carbs, then I've got like 10% that comes from healthy fats. So I've got to track all of these things as they're coming in. Then I've got the water. So these are just examples of how to one have the grandiose reason. So why does this goal matter? Or why does being healthy matter? And then setting the goal. Okay, 10% body fat, 150 pounds or 160 pounds lean muscle. And then from there, laying out all the little things that you need to do. So for me, I need to eat about 20 grams of protein more than my actual body weight. So some people say eat in protein, grams of protein, the amount of weight that you want to weigh. So they're doing that in kilograms, but we're not going to get into that. But you just need to know. Just need to know. So that's what I would say, Junior, is as you guys are building out these standards, know what it takes to define detail, to build it out, and then have a reason for why you're doing it. And that normally helps you stay consistent because it's a standards are a lot like goals. You set them and then you kind of veer off and don't come back to them.
Yeah, I wonder why that happens. Just as human beings, like why do we do that? Why do we set standards and then forget about them? Like I remember when the year started. Remember that?
Yep.
The year started, a lot of us had these big ideas, right? Today, it's 2024. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get in the gym. The usual cycle. We're like halfway, if I'm not mistaken, we're like halfway through the year, right? So we're like literally halfway through the year. And I'm wondering how many of you still remember those goals? How many people actually raise their standard? Is it that it's not important enough and then we forget? Is it that we just need more accountability? Is it that we're not driven enough? What is that for you? For me personally, Bobby, what has allowed me to stay on path when I set a goal is connecting that goal to whatever drives me, like whatever is driving me, like whatever is that ultimate driver for me, that ultimate purpose. That goal has to in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, I probably won't remember it. I probably won't remember it because I'm chasing something else. I'm chasing the most important thing. So that whatever I'm doing has to be connected in some way, shape, or form to that most important thing. And that's sort of how I actually remember. I don't even have to remember because it'll just come natural as I am chasing that ultimate purpose and that ultimate goal.
Hmm. Now this is really good. You know, as we as we come to an end, I'd love to see what the people have to say about this section, like this segment, today's segment. So put some flames in the chat if you guys enjoyed this, because I know that we're due for another finance conversation too, like a money conversation. Because the last time we had that conversation, a lot of people went crazy. They're like, "Yo, we need this. Nobody else is talking about this." And then we had a bit of that conversation yesterday on Tuesday, and then we were like, "Hey guys, we'll talk about this some more." So yeah, just let us know what you guys thought about this segment, because this was a little more structured. We gave you guys some T charts, some questions you can ask. We gave you all some big hairy goal structure, some ideas. So our goal is always to optimize your experience. It's always to give you the best possible experience here. And as we get ready to come into some come into the new quarter, we want to make sure that we increase our standards here at Breakfast with the Brand. So what can we do as a host and co-host to bring you guys the most crazy like insights possible? Like whatever you're looking for, we trying to give it to you. So definitely use that comments chat for that.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, so we do have a webinar coming up. So we have a webinar coming up. The webinar is going to be June 27th. If you want to get access to that, just go to www.shawnrise.com, join our email list. Once you're on the list, you will automatically receive emails inviting you to the webinar. It's free. I believe it's going to be like maybe like an hour and a half thereabout. And we're going to be talking about how to build $1 million brand. So if you want to build $1 million brand, go to www.shawnrise.com, join the mailing list, and the invitation will be sent to you. All right. So this is it for today. I believe today is Wednesday, right?
That's
Today is
right.
Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday, guys. So we will be back. Have a phenomenal, phenomenal Wednesday. If you need anything, just reach out to myself on any social media platform. Reach out to Bobby, or you could go to www.shawnrise.com. And from there, we have a ton of resources to help you get started. And if you want to have a conversation, then you could set an appointment from there and talk to myself, Bobby, or somebody else on our team to help guide you in the best direction. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Hope you have the best day of your life, and see you tomorrow. Later.